Introduction, A Dance with the Devil. If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. Joseph Goebbels, Adolf Hitler's minister of propaganda. Some people are blatantly evil. There is just no other way to put it. As I have gotten older, through my own experiences as well as what I have witnessed, I have learned this simple truth beyond the shadow of a doubt. In psychological and social dynamics, the phenomenon of mobbing or group bullying and ostracization has devastating consequences for the targeted individual. To make sense of complex situations and social interactions, humans frequently rely on a combination of cognitive shortcuts and emotionally charged narratives. When a person becomes the target of mobbing, their pre-existing prejudices, manipulative narratives, and psychological conditioning within the group often exacerbate their unfortunate situation. The collective mind turns against them, viewing them through a lens that only reflects negative stereotypes like crazy, dangerous, or addicted. This predisposed viewpoint does not emerge overnight. Rather, it is carefully cultivated over time. Those who instigate mobbing knowingly lay the groundwork by repeatedly portraying the target negatively. Subtle hints, insinuations, and outright false accusations shape the group's perception. This narrative gains traction over time and eventually becomes the dominant paradigm through which the group views the victim. When the targeted person tries to argue their case, their words are met with a psychological wall fortified by cognitive biases and emotional reasoning. The group, which is already prejudiced against them, interprets the victim's plea not as a genuine cry for justice, but as further evidence of their perceived flaws. When defending themselves, the victim becomes emotional and is labeled unstable. They are accused of manipulation or cunning if they present logical arguments. Silence is interpreted as guilt or apathy if they remain silent. In essence, every move they make tightens the noose. The more the victim struggles in this Kafkaesque situation, the deeper they sink into the quicksand of group judgment. It's a vicious circle. Every attempt to clear their name only adds fuel to the fire of the group's skepticism. The paradoxical nature of the mob's mindset makes this especially insidious. Their negative perception of the victim is not only resistant to change, but is also reinforced by the victim's attempts to challenge it. Even irrefutable evidence can be twisted to fit the dominant narrative. The psychological underpinnings of this situation are rooted in a variety of mechanisms, including confirmation bias, which occurs when people are more likely to accept information that confirms their pre-existing beliefs and disregard information that challenges them. Furthermore, the identity of the mob becomes entwined with the act of ostracizing the victim, creating a us versus them mentality that further alienates the targeted individual. As a result, the individual is trapped in a social catch-22 in which their every word and action, rather than alleviating their plight, only deepens their social grave. The mob, buoyed by a false sense of moral superiority, continues its ostracization, unmoved, if not galvanized, by the victim's pleas. As a result, the cycle of mobbing not only continues but becomes increasingly difficult to break, trapping the victim in a social maze with no obvious way out. In the face of such daunting dynamics, addressing the underlying causes of mob mentality and cultivating an environment conducive to critical thinking and open dialogue are critical steps toward breaking the vicious cycle. However, for the individual caught up in such a situation, the options for redress are frighteningly limited, frequently necessitating intervention from unbiased third parties, organizational systems, or even legal avenues to reset the narrative and restore their tarnished reputation. It is important to note that both male and female individuals can engage in manipulative behavior in the complex landscape of human social interaction. However, a growing body of research suggests that the tactics used may differ depending on gender. Female psychopaths, a subset of the broader category of psychopathy, can be especially skilled at exploiting social dynamics, often in covert ways. When they decide to target an individual within a group, they frequently employ subtlety, guile, and a thorough understanding of human psychology and social dynamics. For the purposes of this book, we will concentrate on the tactics used by female psychopaths to isolate and drive out a specific target from a group setting. The first step is frequently to identify a vulnerable target, someone who, for various reasons, may be more vulnerable to manipulative tactics. This could be someone less socially adept, new to the group, or simply someone whose absence would benefit the female psychopath's agenda. The phase of subtle manipulation begins once a target is identified. Unlike their male counterparts, who may begin with overt aggression or grandiose displays of dominance, female psychopaths frequently begin with the spread of rumors, gossip, or strategic sharing of sensitive information. The goal is to create a narrative about the target that will serve as the lens through which the group perceives the individual. Covert manipulation techniques such as triangulation are frequently used. The female psychopath may give different accounts or versions of events to different members of the group, causing confusion and mistrust. They fragment the group's coherence by forming factions or mini alliances, making it easier to isolate the target. They may also use mirroring to endear themselves to others in the group, mimicking their interests and viewpoints in order to appear as an indispensable or irreplaceable member. This stands in stark contrast to the increasingly marginalized target, emphasizing their ostensibly outcast status. As previously stated, once a negative preconception about the target is established, any attempt by the victim to defend themselves usually backfires. Negative stereotypes or accusations may include descriptors such as untrustworthy, sensitive, or difficult, priming the group for a specific reaction. Female psychopaths are often adept at reading social cues and emotional states, allowing them to predict how the group and target will react. They take advantage of this by planning their tactics in such a way that they elicit the desired reactions from both parties. The toxic environment created by these machinations begins to harm the target. Their professional performance may suffer, or they may exhibit signs of emotional stress, such as increased anxiety, lower self-esteem, or even depressive symptoms. The group then interprets these signs of stress as validation of the narratives and labels that have previously been assigned to the target. The female psychopath may use these behavioral changes as evidence, cementing the group's increasingly negative view of the targeted individual. The irony is palpable. The target's reactions, which are normal reactions to abnormal levels of social stress and manipulation, are used to justify their exclusion. Furthermore, female psychopaths frequently excel at playing the victim, twisting the narrative to make it appear as if they, rather than the person they're targeting, are being mistreated. This tactic is extremely effective because it not only discredits the target, but also elicits sympathy and support for the female psychopath, reinforcing her social position within the group. In many cases, the situation reaches a tipping point, where the targeted individual is forced to leave the group or leaves voluntarily to escape the relentless psychological torment. When the target is gone, the group may feel a brief sense of relief or unity, attributing the reduction in tension to the absence of the problematic individual, rather than recognizing the manipulative tactics that led to their departure. The exit of the targeted individual frequently serves to reinforce the social standing of the female psychopath. She may be praised for her strength in dealing with a difficult situation or person, securing her place in the group. With the target no longer present and her status elevated, she may seek out a new target and repeat the cycle, all while maintaining a facade of normalcy and emotional stability to conceal her manipulative actions. Female psychopaths use a variety of sophisticated covert tactics to isolate and eliminate a specific target from a group setting. They manipulate perceptions, sow discord, and create an environment in which the targeted individual's attempts to defend themselves only serve to tighten the metaphorical noose by utilizing their keen understanding of human psychology and social dynamics. Through these intricate schemes, the female psychopath not only successfully drives the target out of the group, but also solidifies her own position within it, often without raising the slightest suspicion about her true intentions. Because of the insidious nature of these tactics, as well as the psychological toll they take on the targeted individual, this type of manipulation is one of the most damaging and difficult to combat. Navigating the complex landscape of group dynamics and interpersonal relationships, particularly when highly manipulative and evil individuals are involved, is likened to a perilous dance with the devil. The steps in this intricate ballet are deceptive, the music is discordant, and the stage is riddled with traps. The female psychopath, like the devil in folklore, presents a facade that belies the chaos they intend to unleash. The dance starts off slowly, almost imperceptibly. To establish the desired narrative, the female psychopath begins a dance of whispers, rumors, and half-truths. As the other dancers, the group members, get swept up in the rhythm, they become unwitting participants in a performance designed to isolate and condemn one of them, the chosen target. The victim walks into this dance unprepared, not realizing that the floor beneath them is already slick with the oil of preconceptions and bias. When they try to argue their case, change the tempo, or correct the choreography, their efforts are futile. Every step they take, every plea they make, only serves to trip them up even more, tightening the noose in a dance where the devil has already dictated the terms. Meanwhile, the female psychopath moves with calculated grace, bouncing between group alliances and rivalries. Their movements are fluid, and their steps are precisely timed to deepen the cracks they've already created. The group loses sight of the original choreography as they effortlessly leap and twirl, playing different roles for different people, blind to the puppeteer pulling their strings. The contrast between the female psychopath's apparent poise and the target's stumbling becomes the focal point of the performance, bolstering the narrative that the latter is inherently flawed, troubled, or deserving of exclusion. As the dance progresses, the female psychopath may take on the role of a victim, a damsel in distress besieged by the target's alleged malevolence or incompetence. This role reversal is the climax of the devil's ballet, a masterstroke that not only vindicates the female psychopath, but also galvanizes the group into believing that the targeted individual's exit is a collective act of liberation. When the dance is finished and the target is driven from the group, a deceptive calm settles over the group. The devil takes a bow, praising their tenacity and fortitude. The group applauds in unison, relieved but unknowingly compromised, mistaking the female psychopath's cunning for virtue. They prepare to dance again, oblivious to the fact that they've been pawns in a malevolent performance, unwittingly awaiting the selection of the next target. As a result, the devil's dance continues, cyclical in its cruelty, insidious in its subtlety, and devastating in its impact. While the group may believe they've performed a ballet of justice and moral clarity, they've actually danced to a tune composed in the depths of deception, manipulation, and pure evil. The devil's dance card is always open, the stage set for another performance in the never-ending theater of human folly and vulnerability. The phenomenon of mobbing, a term that is less familiar to many but has a profound impact in many areas of life, is the central theme of this book. The goal of this book is to decipher the complexities of mobbing, an insidious form of collective aggression that has infiltrated various aspects of society, from workplaces and educational institutions to the digital realm and even within the confines of family dynamics. This introductory chapter aims to lay the groundwork for a more in-depth examination of mobbing by defining its contours, comprehending its significance in contemporary society, and distinguishing it from the more commonly understood concept of bullying. Mobbing, definition, and importance. Mobbing is a type of psychological bullying or harassment in which an individual or group targets a person for hostile and unethical communication, usually in the workplace or community. Mobbing, as opposed to other types of harassment, is distinguished by its collective nature, in which multiple individuals engage in a sustained campaign of aggression against a targeted individual. This phenomenon is more than a series of random acts of hostility. It is a systematic campaign that escalates over time, frequently causing severe psychological and emotional distress in the victim. The importance of mobbing in modern society cannot be overstated. In a world where social dynamics are becoming increasingly complex and interpersonal relationships are frequently mediated through digital platforms, the impact of mobbing extends beyond the victim's immediate surroundings. The consequences of such collective aggression can be seen in lower workplace productivity, increased mental health issues, disruption in educational settings, and overall community well-being. Furthermore, mobbing reflects and perpetuates larger societal issues like power disparities, social conformity, and the human proclivity for groupthink. Traditional bullying versus mobbing. While mobbing and traditional bullying share some characteristics such as the intent to harm and the presence of a power imbalance, there are significant differences between the two. Traditional bullying typically involves an individual's repeated, aggressive behavior toward another, focusing on physical, verbal, or social harm. Because of its individual nature, this type of bullying is often more visible and, at times, easier to address. Mobbing, on the other hand, is a more subtle form of aggression. It requires a group effort, which makes it difficult to identify and confront. Mobbing's group dynamic also creates a diffusion of responsibility, where individual mob members may not perceive their actions as harmful due to the involvement of others. Furthermore, mobbing is more psychological in nature, involving tactics like gossip, exclusion, and undermining a person's reputation and work. Another significant distinction is found in the context. While traditional bullying is often associated with schools and childhood, mobbing is more common in adult settings such as the workplace, educational institutions, families, and other group settings. The nature and impact of the aggression are also influenced by the difference in context. Mobbing in adult settings can have serious consequences for a person's career, social standing, and mental health. Understanding these distinctions is critical for dealing with mobbing effectively. While anti-bullying strategies can be helpful, the complex dynamics of mobbing necessitate a more nuanced approach that takes into account the collective nature of the aggression, the adult environments in which it occurs, and the psychological tactics used. The book's scope. Dancing with Lucifer, Deconstructing the Tactics of Mobbing, seeks to provide an in-depth examination of mobbing in a variety of contexts. The book will delve into workplace mobbing, using examples from the nursing and academic sectors to show how this phenomenon manifests in professional settings. It will also look at mobbing within families, which is often overlooked, but has serious consequences for individual well-being and family dynamics. The book will also look into the phenomenon of cyber mobbing, which is a relatively new but rapidly growing concern in the digital age. This section will look at how technology and social media platforms facilitate collective aggression, as well as the unique challenges that this virtual form of mobbing presents. In addition to these contexts, the book will investigate other group dynamics that contribute to mobbing, providing a thorough understanding of how various social, cultural, and organizational factors interact to facilitate this form of aggression. Finally, the book will delve into offender psychology, providing insights into the motivations and characteristics of those who engage in mobbing. Dancing with Lucifer, Deconstructing the Tactics of Mobbing, aims to provide a holistic view of mobbing by covering these diverse areas, equipping readers with the knowledge to identify, understand, and address this complex social phenomenon. The book hopes to contribute to the larger conversation about creating healthier, more respectful, and inclusive environments in all spheres of society through this exploration.